Is speaking. Shh. He's even on a chair.
Can I take a picture?
Yes, sure. Grandpa, speak loud.
I haven't spoken yet. Right, good afternoon everybody. It's wonderful to see everyone and thank you all for coming here, even though I know there is an underground train strike today, but you all managed to go there. So,
What's the underground train strike?
today,
Coming here.
this evening, well not for you, but for some. Anyway, I'd like to introduce everybody to a very, very influential person just flown in this morning. The 5 o'clock flight
Don't make me laugh, Dad.
from Tel Aviv, the red-eye flight, and he was picked up at 9:30, so it wasn't too bad this morning. Anyway, he's going to talk to everybody. He's just going to give us a welcome, and he's going to, as we all know, hands up, everybody who's seen Elliot's.
Kids, start chanting tea.
What? Anyway, Elliot Goldsmith from Efrat, ex-Jerusalem, would like to address the assembly.
Thank you, Dad. What an honour. I'm not going to stand on the ladder. I'm sorry, Dad.
Come on, you've got to get up.
It's
You've
special.
got to do speaker's corner. If you want to.
I will do it loud. I have ability to talk loudly. I'm going to pass around.
By the way, there is a time limit. There is a time limit.
I want to pass around a photo album, and in this photo album, you're welcome to listen. In the photo album, there's pictures of my son. You can see firsthand of him in this time period. He's my oldest son, Barak Itzhak. Sorry, no. And I have one other thing I'm going to pass around. This is a book that a famous person gave to me in Eretz Yisrael. His name's Leo D. He's originally from Radlett. If you heard about him, he lost his wife and 2 beautiful daughters in the terrorist attack in Pesach time, Passover time. And he gave me this book just before I left, and I thought it very appropriate. It's about transforming the world. He has a very positive approach about the whole situation. So I'm just going to pass it around if everyone wants to have a look. The butchers, as they say in England. Just to catch everyone up, instead of repeating the story 20 different times, or maybe more, I first want to give a big thank you to Grandma and Grandpa for hosting, Mum and Dad, for hosting this wonderful tea. It's not taken for granted. I know these don't happen as much as when we grew up. We used to all get together Saturday, thanks to HQ, or rather Grandma Zena. We used to get together, Grandpa Ben. Grandma Minnie is looking down from heaven right now with Pavarotti, so we know she's in a good place, and we shouldn't forget her. And all the other wonderful grandparents, Grandpa Sid, and obviously Uncle Len's late mother just passed away. We have her in mind as well. Wonderful lady, as my mum always tells me. And it's very important to bring all these names and recognise that we're not here just whatever. It was all meant to be that we'd be this Sunday. I don't know why it went into my head to come visit now, but probably because my mum and dad just got back from Spain and then they're going on a cruise. So practically I needed to sort of squeeze it in. And rather than wait, let's just make it happen. So to sum up, since October the 7th, it was a beautiful festival. Everything was in a good place. My son was in the army, but it was in a normal situation, in an army base, nothing to worry about. And everything was, in a good place. I was looking forward to the new year, the Jewish New Year, and new opportunities. I just transitioning in job-wise. I was looking forward to build a business and a lot of exciting times ahead. And then on that climax day of the Yom Tov, of the festival time in Israel, we have sirens waking us up, booms. The whole house where I live was shaking, bombs being blown up all around us. And I didn't really at first know what it was, so I started walking like I would. I woke up unusually late. I never wake up late, and I woke up about 8 o'clock. I was blowing out of bed almost, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was planes. I don't know. And I started walking, and I saw people look really stressed out, shaking their heads, running down the street. Things looked crazy. I made it to the shul, and I asked them. I said, "What's going on?" And bit by bit, people started saying there's a whole incident going down and down south. We never imagined it would be as crazy as it was. We thought it was initially the numbers that were coming in, 10 people, 40 people, and that was like already a terrible tragedy, and we were very concerned. But as we found out as the day ended, it was like thousands, unfortunately 1,400 or something like that. Terrible day and a tremendous sad day for the world with the hostages and everything else. And all the different missiles. So you have to understand, in my point of view, my son suddenly gets a message on his phone that he has to be called up. He was having a weekend off, and he's now on the Yom Tov where we don't usually drive. He has to get in my daughter's car, and he's not even insured on it, and he has to drive to the army base, and he has all these different missions he has to do in the car to gather different soldiers. And one soldier hadn't seen his parents for a long time, and he was scared that he wouldn't get to say goodbye to them, so my son drove out of his way to quickly say goodbye to parents, and then there was an accident and the car window got smashed, and there was all kinds of dramas going on. And before he left to do all this, he came and got a blessing from me. He drove up to me on the holy day and got a blessing, and then happily all my kids and family, everyone had come to the shul, and we stayed in that area for a little bit and went back to my house, and then we started finding out how terrible the news was. And basically since that day, October the 7th, it's been a different world in Israel, not just with the missiles. And as my son this weekend was up north as a yeshiva boy, not going there for any army reason, and there were 60 missiles right where he was, just this weekend. So it's a continuation. But where I want to go to is now my son has been away initially since the war, 75 days. And after the first 2 weeks, we had the ability to finally see him, but we knew the army were only allowing us to see him because he was going into Gaza where the war was concentrated. And we went down, and that's in the pictures you can see us, we went to go see him. And then later on you can see the amount of military equipment he has. He has a rocket launcher, he has grenades, he has 15 different bullet containers. He's got very big gun with a sight and everything, and all the different tools that a person needs. There was a whole rush in Israel to get equipment and arm a whole army of hundreds of thousands, and it was a very intense situation because a lot of married people suddenly were being called up, people with kids, people with businesses. It went into the hundreds of thousands of people, so we knew plenty of people who had other things to do, and now they were in the army uniform again. And they were, because basically we have to understand what happened. There was a shift that the usual soldiers, young soldiers who don't have those responsibilities, now had to go into the war, into Gaza, into different war situations. My son initially was in Lebanon. Up there he was shooting down drones that were flying over his base. And then he was sent down to the border of Gaza, and that's where we met him. And he trained how to go into the tunnels and the houses and all the very extreme situations that would be there. And once he was in Gaza, he was there for 75 days, to the point where he hadn't even taken off. Only I think one time had a change of uniform, and the shoes and the socks, everything was affecting his condition. So he wasn't in such a great physical condition when he came back. Like, he needed some treatments, and we got them done for him. But what was amazing was how elevated he was. He was in a very upbeat mindset because he'd literally been living in a war scene for 75 days. I can't tell all the stories. Some of them are, private. Some of them are stories that are reserved for, shouldn't really, maybe he shouldn't even told us. I don't know. But for example, the first week he was there, the smell of death in Gaza, the smell of death, just that itself was overwhelming. Just getting used to that smell. Who would want to get used to the smell of death? I'm talking about for 75 days, the smell. And it took him a while, so about a week or two. And he was in houses every night, a different house, where they'd have to check, if there was any evidence of the hostages or any Hamas terror paraphernalia. And I said, unfortunately, almost in every house he stayed at, in the Gazan houses that he was in with his unit, he would find Hamas uniforms or military equipment or some pretty strange stuff as well. he did notice they had good lives, thank God. He said they were living a good life before this whole war started, October 7th. The houses were in good condition and had nice furniture and they had nice homes. A lot of the paraphernalia for the kids was very hate focused, unfortunately, like in terms of, I'm just telling you facts that he said with his own eyes, that, and it's been proven, there's pictures that are going around that have, you know, anti-Semitic, even English books, but or obviously Arabic books, and weapons, and for the children to learn how to fight at a young age. Like we get toys, they got weapons. It was pretty intense to see the kind of environment, but at the same time, he saw also, unfortunately, the Hamas. He saw the Hamas many times. He encountered them. There's even footage I have that the media got of his unit taking out a Hamas, and one of the things that really blew his mind was seeing how many times they were holding Palestinian families hostages, and his unit had to sort of get them out of there, the Palestinians, and they would sometimes, the Hamas terrorists would come out holding up a baby to their head to protect themselves, and that like was too much to see that with your own eyes, such a scene. I mean, he just wanted to talk. There was so much, because it was so probably traumatic just going through this. Recently, he managed to phone us, and now, so that was in North. This was in the North Human Shields. Yeah, this was in the North Gaza. Now, the last 2 weeks he's been in the South Gaza. I mean, I tell you some of the stories that he said. He saw hostages. He said, in his opinion, they were, when all the thousands of Palestinians were being moved out of northern Gaza, so that safely evacuated, so they wouldn't get in the harm's way. He saw hostages in his mind, because he saw blonde girls who matched the description, and he reported it. And the army at that moment couldn't do anything about it, whatever the reason was. It was complicated because there was some men around those women. There were men around, and it would have escalated into a whole scene. So it was complicated. He said his hope is that he'll bring back a hostage. That's what he told me personally. He also told me that many times they came across missile sites, and when he found those missile sites, he felt very relieved that he was doing something purposeful, because he was preventing those missiles being launched into his homeland. You know, so he's protecting his family, his friends. He also, if you look on the news, a lot of the things that came up in the news the last few months, if you've watched the news, I wouldn't recommend it, but he himself hasn't watched the news. He stays away from news. He says it makes you very confused. It's very confusing, which he hasn't had a phone for months, and he said it's a life-changing experience to be off a phone, to just be, you know, focused on real life and helping your fellow people. One of the things he said that he saw, he was there when they discovered those giant tunnels with the ones where the trucks could even fit in. So anytime you've seen something in the news, his unit were very much involved in those momentous moments. He didn't know they were newsworthy moments, but he, after the fact, you know, realised that was when he was telling me these stories. I was like, you don't realise these things you're saying were newsworthy moments. The last 2 weeks he's been, since he came back for that one weekend, only one time he came home in 75 days. Imagine that, 75 days. You have to understand that means every night sleeping in a house, if you sleep at all, in your full uniform, with the helmet and everything, sleeping in a house where you can't make noise, you can't make light. If you make noise and light, you get a missile into the house. And you're sleeping in this house, and then you go on to the next house, and all the different interactions, all the things going on. Like, I mean, I can't say all of it, but you know, in the last 2 weeks he went into South Gaza, which is different, and he managed to phone us. It's a bit more intense there. There's much less Palestinians now around. It's basically majority of the people around. If you counter people, it's generally terrorists, unfortunately. But he himself is on a guard duty, and he's also guarding tanks and tunnels, that there shouldn't be anyone coming out the tunnels. Also, it's amazing, he's not scared. I asked, you know, it's a question you ask a soldier, are you not scared for your life? He says, no, I'm willing to give up my life to protect my people and my family and my loved ones. And it's a certain level of clarity it's hard to relate to unless you're there. and he is very like mature now. It's very interesting. When he came into my house, I felt like I was talking to a different child. Like he's not my son like how he was. He's gone through something which has matured him, and life has brought him to a level where he's very like focused. And
has he met any civilians?
Yes,
No,
plenty.
and what are they saying, or what's their?
Oh, so their feeling is that they're obviously a lot of them, the ones he's met, were being captured, were being held like as human shields, and they were upset at their situation. They didn't say bad or
So
not.
why don't they speak out? Because they're scared.
Oh, they're scared. There's a lot of fear there, and he says they live good lives. Especially the more involved you are with Hamas, the better usually the lifestyle, because you have more access to the funding, and like if they have more uniform, they're more involved with the unfortunately the way the society is built there for whatever reason. I'm not getting into any points. I'm just explaining things that have been seen.
What about the fear in Israel of the escalation?
Oh, so now the next thing, he phones us 2 weeks. Very good question. He phones us recently, and he's not really allowed to phone us, but somehow he does. And he asks us, and he says to us, "Look, I'm probably going to be here another 2 more weeks or so, because we're really, they're really getting the job done quick with the terrorists, and they're looking for Sinawar and all the different the head guys. They're looking to get rid of them, but they said that it's looking more and more likely. Unfortunately, they're going to all be shifted up to Lebanon. That's going to be the central focus, which you have to understand. It's two different worlds. Hamas is no way near the level of where Lebanon, the Hezbollah, there's a proper army
They're
going on.
still sending out missiles from Gaza.
That's true also.
How can they carry on sending up
They
missiles and pretending they don't have water, electricity?
It's very complicated.
How
They do not have electricity there. It's complicated. They do not have electricity there. They do not. And my son, when he came
But
back,
they must have electricity to fire the missiles.
in the tunnels. The tunnel system is good. They have a very organised system. It's very highly developed. But the above the ground, there's no electricity in the houses of the Gazans in the north part. I don't know the south. But he spent many nights in dark house, and Shabbat, for him, he walked in, it was crazy. It was the first Shabbat night he had in months, where he walks into a house and he sees candles, and he sees a little kid playing on the floor, and he sees beautiful food, and he sees everything set up so nicely. And he was like it was almost like he was blinded by it. He's like, oh my God. He said to the rabbi, he went to visit a rabbi that night, the first night he came back. He said, the light here, it's like I haven't been in this light of a nice home for so long. Like it's so amazing. Like I miss it, Like he thank God he is representing his Judaism very strong. He has his payot, and he sits there, and he wears his tefillin, and he believes, and he believes everything. He's very strong in his belief system. But he can't keep Shabbat in this time period. It's not the rabbis understand 100% that when it comes to saving life, that's before everything, and that's his focus. So he misses the fact, even in our own home, when he came home, he had to get ready his bags and everything on Shabbat. So he wasn't really keeping Shabbat by the end of it because of the war situation. He had to get back. He had a time limit. He had to get back. He went back to a very nice base in Beersheba somewhere, and then he had to go from there back into Gaza. And the part of Gaza he's in is, we know, there's booby traps, and there's been unfortunately a cumulative every day another soldier, another this.
Where is?
My wife.
Where does Israel hope they're going?
Let me just say, my wife. Now bring it back to Masha, Martine. She has gone through a lot because she's a mother. I'm a husband, like a man. We process things slightly different. But a woman, a mother, it's her. She's very close to Baruch. It's very, very close. They speak every night, and this whole time period she could hardly speak to him at all. And so when she did speak to him, it was very intense, and her heart has been very much with him, and obviously everybody is, and the whole community around us. There's a lot of support, a lot of feeling of love about the whole situation, which is very important. But one of the things, he phoned her up one time and he said, you have to get a gun. So my wife now, just so you know, she has a gun. She does Magen David Adam. she's a volunteer for ambulance
Are you
service.
shitting it now?
No, she has a gun. No, she actually did. Yesterday, before I came to Israel, she put her gun under the duvet when she lied down. She couldn't be bothered to put it in the safe. And I was like, I'm lying next to you next to a gun. I'm a little bit like...
Yeah, but that's so messed up.
But anyway,
what's it like in the West Bank?
but no, her son, security-wise, she goes into Arab villages to help Arabs to get to hospital. She needs to be protected, unfortunately, not because the Arabs are going to do it, because they're terrorists are going to do something.
But it's all.
Anyway,
think about it. It's messed up.
I just want to say one clear message that I want to say one. I'm going to end on this. I've said a lot of stories. If anyone wants to hear more, they can ask me personally. I just want to end off one point. The community I'm in, they believe very much in the security of Israel. We have that comes first, even though they're very loving, kind people. But when it comes to security, that's before everything, and that they believe in very much, and it's a very strong.
So where you live,
approach.
Just so everybody.
They have
explain to
many people there
where you live though.
Yeah.
Explain.
I mean, but one of because of the history, and they're armed community, and it's not. I didn't choose it personally because of the armed side of it. I chose it because of the fact they're very good, sincere people, and the armed side of it is for me.
Yeah, but you're in a contentious.
What's it like in the West Bank?
We live in. It's called Judaism.
Are you more at risk where you're living than you would if you were living in Jerusalem?
Because the fact that we're constantly on villages, so that makes us in a better place. No, we're not, because we're known by the communities around us. They know that we are constantly armed and ready. Like, whereas people who are more like sleeping, they're not really in the situation. So that's where it's more.
Would you say that Israel is running as it always has, or is it?
No, it's changed. This has changed. Israel's changed now. What happened this time has changed Israel.
And what about? Do you think everybody?
All the politics before October the 7th.
How's it changed?
Changed.
In what way?
All the contentious issues. For example, the people in the south who were very, very left. After this happened, they had to reassess. Doesn't mean they became right, but they
Less left.
maybe not less left, but just less naive
What about the
in
thinking?
terms of their relationships. They
What
have
about
to have good security.
But what about their the leadership in Israel? Because we hear lots of negativity within Israel.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of negativity, unfortunately, about certain individuals in Israel. But nevertheless, if you ask the soldiers themselves, so the ones I know, they're very positive about the leadership. But my son did admit that have been some of his friends are traumatized.
They're all on Floxitane.
No, they're a little bit traumatized. But they're a bit traumatized by the fact that they can't just do whatever they need to do to protect their life. Because of the international pressure, and also generally the fact that Israel is a very moral army, they have to be very careful what they do and how they do it. And that is quite traumatic for the soldiers, because they're not just worried about the threat of the terrorists, they're worried about if they make a mistake, they can end up in prison.
Well, that's like a policeman here.
So it's a tightrope. But just to end off, I want to quote this Rabbi Leo D. He said a very beautiful thing. This is the book of the rabbi. He's from Radlett, very normal guy, a business guy, somebody you respect, very very standard person. He's being asked to speak at the UN and all kinds of places. I'm actually starting to work with him a little bit as a speaker. But the point is,
$5,000 a visit.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
But I just want to end off. What he said is that our people have to be a light. We have to be a moral example. That's how we approach things. But we also have to teach the world, and this is coming from someone who's all about peace. Even after he lost his wife and his 2 daughters to terrorism, he still went and met with all the Arab leaders, and he made peace with them. Iran, you'd think he'd be angry and full of hate, opposite. But he said like this, he says we have to teach the world how to deal with terror also. Because it's not just an Israel issue, it's a global issue. And everyone in the world needs to support the fact that we need to deal with terror in a strong, confident way, like we always did. I was just watching, I'd recommend this 100%. You want to get some educational war?
Jeremy Bowen, BBC.
Go to Netflix. No, it's not BBC. Netflix documentary on World War II, and listen to how Winston Churchill and how Roosevelt, how they spoke about the Nazis among Shamam. And that's the same thing in this situation. There's no doubt they have to be dealt with in a very strong way, and that will protect all of humanity so that we cannot have to go into future wars like this again, because we'll eliminate the evil influence that they have. And with that, please God, my son will come back safely, and all of you will be able to visit Israel. It will be better times in the future. It will be a secure Israel. And I appreciate you allowing me to share this with you, and I appreciate you hosting, and I hope we only share simcha and good times and happiness, and we should all be blessed with long, happy years so you can hear only good news. Amen. Yeah, they also, so this is what they write on the magnet about my son, Baruch Yitzhak Ben Masha. He is in the paratrooper unit, currently in Gaza. He loves nature, sitting by a pool of water or the sea, listening to music. He tries to put his 100% of himself in everything he does. He is an example you can use your mind to do much more than you can think. He believes it's very important to learn to give yourself appreciation for journey, growth, accomplishments, and know that Hashem is with you all the way. He loves doing tefillin, talking to God, as well being a loyal friend, a good listener, is able to talk to every type of person. And he look at the smile. Everyone see. Look at the smile on his face. Magnet. So someone else got this magnet, and they came and they said, we want to give this magnet back to you guys. And we stick it on our fridge, but I brought it here for you. Yeah, I brought it for the family. And that same family have hosted us, they've given us flowers, there's a lot of support, knowing that we have a son in such a dangerous situation, and he should be healthy and well. Amen.